All right, welcome back to the Sleepers Podcast. We got a great guest for you tonight, Kenny Goins, one of the biggest shots in NCAA history, obviously Spartan history, but I think NCAA history as well. Kenny, how you doing, man? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing good. I appreciate you guys having me on the show today.
Hey, we got to get the Spartan dogs on the show. I think, Greg, official count, we might have more Spartan dogs than Michigan players on the pod officially now.
That's because there's more dogs.
Hey, talk about it.
It's true. I'm not going to deny that. All right, let's start from the top. I know we're on a little bit of a time crunch here tonight, which we respect, because if there's one thing about the Sleepers Podcast that I want our listeners to know, it's that we are a pro wives and girlfriends podcast. So when they give us a time limit, we abide by those time limit restrictions. So we're going to get this moving. I want to start right away with sort of your journey to Michigan State, Kenny, because if I remember correctly, you turned down multiple offers to go the walk-on route at Michigan State. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I turned down quite a few, as most kids that end up playing college sports do. But, it was kind of the one that turned me away, that smoothed the path for me. I was at Central for an official visit, woke up the last day of the official visit, was going to tell the coach at breakfast, I'm ready to sign, or at least verbally commit, I think it was at the time. And, before I even got to the breakfast, he called me, told me that overnight, I think it was 3 a.m., this kid from Serbia messaged them when he woke up their time the same day, and he was going to commit there. And so that was the last scholarship that they had left for the next season. The next day I told Coach Izzo I was going to come play basketball for Michigan State. It kind of came down to those last two options, as I had given up all the other ones. But like I said, I was ready to commit to Central, and then it was just kind of shown to me that that wasn't the way I was supposed to go.
That's great. So they dropped that information to you on your official visit at Central?
Yeah, I mean, the last day of my official visit, they texted me, call me when you get up. And I called them, like I said, before we even went to breakfast. And they were like, if you don't want to go to breakfast with us, you don't have to. And I was like, yeah, I mean, this will be kind of awkward. So I'm good. Let's go home.
Just pick something up on the way home. I feel you. I wouldn't be trying to go to that awkward breakfast either. But that's that's crazy, because if that Serbian kid doesn't call, then nothing, none of the Michigan State stuff ever happens, which is just that's life. That's just crazy.
Yeah, who knows what would have happened, where I might be now. But like I said, it wasn't. I don't know. Whatever you believe in, this was one of those moments where it really felt to me like something had sat me down and said, no, this is not what is out there for you. Like I said, I had my mindset somewhere else, and something reached out and told me that's not it.
Right. So I know you you're from the Warren area. I know you went to Mott for high school. I went to Detroit Country Day, so it's kind of in the same area, whatever. Did you grow up a Michigan State fan, or were you always a Spartan dog, or no?
Yeah, I actually just redecorated. I'm in my parents' bedroom, my bedroom and my parents, and it used to be all Michigan State stuff everywhere. But when I was out in Greece last year, my sister kind of renovated and took down all. So, yeah, I grew up from the time I think I went to my first basketball game when I was 6 at the Breslin Center. And the first football game I went to, I was either 6 or 7 too, in Spartan Stadium. My uncle was taking me to games from the time I could walk. Really knew what was going on. So it was kind of hard not to gravitate toward that opportunity in general when it came, 14, 16 years later, or what is it? Yeah, 14 years later.
So obviously a lot of good Michigan State teams while we were growing up and while you were growing up. Flintstones, guys from the state of Michigan that end up at the school. Even back outside the state of Michigan, guys like Shannon Brown was one of my favorite players to watch growing up. Who did you kind of look up to as a little kid Spartan fan?
I really like Drew Neitzel, just because he was a lefty. And I guess I'll just straight up say he was a white point guard in a time where there wasn't cold white boys out there. So just the fact that he was kind of exotic in the way that he was left-handed too. it just kind of was hard not to like him. And then the way he played with Big G, Goins, and stuff like that. That was like the first time when I was really going to games. So it was just kind of, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young kid. And it was just that first, indulgence in love.
I think Drew Neitzel was the first Michigan State jersey I ever owned, by the way. I think you say that.
But
yeah, right.
That's crazy that you were blessed with a Drew Neitzel jersey and somehow you found your way to Michigan fanhood. Like, how's that even happen?
I don't know.
I hate to put you on the spot on these pods, and I know that you know your Michigan State stuff, but the Michigan fandom really kills me.
Look, it doesn't make sense. Do we really need to dissect my personal fandom stories?
I kind of want to know. As a kid from Michigan, I definitely want to know. You started a Michigan State fan?
So I was raised a Michigan fan. My father's a U of M grad. I was like big into just everything Michigan sports growing up. Obviously, they weren't a big basketball school. They had no success in the Tommy Amaker era. But I was still like, that was my team growing up. I lived in East Lansing and I got into Michigan and Michigan State for college, visited Michigan, hated my visit, visited Michigan State, fell in love with everything, the people, the campus, all of it. Chose to go to Michigan State. Am now an MSU grad who I'm a Michigan State fan, but I also still like Michigan basketball. I don't know. It's the John Beilein era, guys. Like, you can't tell me you hate John Beilein.
I'm not saying I hate him, but I bet you almost anyone that hears what you just explained is feeling the same disgust that we are right now.
No, trust me. This is one of my favorite moments is to hear this explanation and to see people's reaction, because it honestly doesn't sound any better.
No, it does not sound any better the more you talk about it.
Look, I know there's going to be a lot of Michigan State fans that listen to this that will be very happy that they get to see me have to do this in front of a beloved Michigan State player. So we'll see. We'll see what the reception is. I'm sure it's horrible. I'm a mutant, though. Like, I get it. I know that I'm doing the thing that's frowned upon. So, like, as long as I admit there's some wrong to it, I think that looks a little better on me, but maybe not. Who knows?
Only a little bit.
I'll give you the scapegoat now, but I can't wait till the comments hit.
For sure. Okay, so you get to Michigan State. How big was that? Because you enter, I think your first year was Zell's senior year, right?
No, Dawson and Trice.
Okay. So you enter like, I don't want to call it a golden era because Michigan State's always been good, but like you entered right into a loaded team with a loaded
team, but it was, I don't know if it was a golden era while I was there. It dropped off very, very quickly. Like this one that's right here next to me is the Final Four jersey from there that they got us framed. That's from the 2014-15 season with them. I mean, even that year, we struggled so hard. We lost to Texas Southern at home. Fans were writing hate mail to the Breslin and stuff to us. I don't think if we don't have the senior leadership from like Trice and Dawson when it comes to March, I mean, like Trav played out of his mind. I've never seen someone so committed and just on a straight path to nothing but winning. Just to be able to see someone do that, and again, the senior for my freshman year, that really set the tone for me. But after that, the next year we are eliminated in the first round to Middle Tennessee. The next year we have 2 ACL injuries. We barely make it into the tournament. Like are threatening breaking the streak. We've been all over the map. And then the Syracuse game was my 4th year, I think it was. So yeah, I've finished in a million different outcomes throughout my career and seeing, the tops of the tops and the lows of the lows. I don't know. That's why you go to Michigan State, though, is you're going to have the opportunity to shine, but at the same time, you're playing the best in the world. So if you don't come ready, or some things might be out of your control that are happening, you're going to fall. You learn on the fly. That's about it.
Yeah, and I think I kind of want to dive into that just a little bit more. I mean, you talked about it and you just kind of highlighted it right there, the highs and lows of being a college basketball player. Like, you have the moment of hitting one of the biggest shots in Michigan State history, and then you have the moment of some of the biggest losses in Michigan State history. I mean, how do you, like, as a basketball player and as a person, just mentally kind of have the fortitude to, fight through these type of things? And I know a lot of players point to the fact that you have your brothers playing with you, you have coaches keeping you together. What kind of would you speak to just kept you going, during your Michigan State career?
I think the first thing would be my family. I'll say that from the start. My family has always been the most important thing to me, and they kept me sane even when I was trying to make the decision. Like, passing up scholarships when your family doesn't have that much money is kind of insane. But my dad told me from the get-go, like, don't worry about it, we'll figure it out. So he, just even that support through the 4 years, 5 years, always being at my games and stuff like that. But I think the next thing, it has to be just the brothers next to you, and then the coaches, even to an extent, because even coaches, it was the first to admit you're always going to have like some type of collision or battle between the coaches and the players. It's just how it is. It's like your boss. You're never going to be cool with them. Like, you guys will might love each other, but it's still some type of divide there, if you will. But the guys next to you, the way you bleed together, cry together, like the amount of tears that we have in that locker room in my 5 years, it just things like that. It makes you want to do it not for yourself, for them more than anything. And that's a lot of times the driving factor in those times where you don't feel like playing ball no more. You don't want to get up for the weightlifting sessions. You don't want to travel anymore. It's things like that is just what gives you that extra motivation.
So I'm just going to rattle off names of guys you played with: Cassius Winston, Denzel Valentine, Miles Bridges, Jaren Jackson, Bryn Forbes, Xavier Tillman, Brandon Dawson, Travis Trice. I mean, bunch of dudes that have gone on to play professionally. Were all American level guys in college. I mean, tons of
more professionals out there too. Matt Costello, Gavin Schilling.
100%. 100%. Absolutely.
Matt Quay played professionally.
So if there's one thing I've learned from watching college basketball, it's that come March, the best teams don't always cut down the nets. So of the 5 years that you were at Michigan State, if you had to roll a ball out right now and suit up with one of those specific teams from those 5 years, which one would you be most confident in would win the game?
It's funny because I probably would have to say it's the one that did the worst in March Madness because it is the best team. But Middle Tennessee just caught us on literally the worst day. And I mean, I don't know if they played much better than what we expected them to play. They shot pretty well, but we were just bad. We were really bad that day. But that team is just, talented, knew how to play together and well, liked each other, which is always a big thing with good teams. It seemed like the perfect storm that day, but it would be that team or my senior year team. My senior year team was also very loaded, but the only difference was more of our studs were younger on my senior year team.
So as an outsider, I gotta dig into this a little more because I've had this argument of like, what was the best Michigan State team from the last decade with a bunch of people, and I've always thrown out at least that the team Jaren's freshman year, Miles' sophomore year, stacks up with the best of the best from that decade. I'm surprised you didn't mention them. What makes them a little level below those other two?
I don't think that what I say about these guys is true now, but I don't think those guys played basketball as smart as, like, they're playing basketball way smarter, understand it better now. Like, Miles was a sophomore. He got it more, but then with that also became, he was a highlight in general already. The confidence, a little bit type of different game. And Jaren was 17 when he got on campus. So to say that he understands how to play when there's other guys that are as talented or as big, athletic, I'm not saying he was bad by any means, but It's just a different game. So they weren't playing up here as much as they were playing with their bodies. And I just think that was the difference with the other two teams was, I mean, Zell is one of the smartest players to ever see the floor. And then on the other team, we had Cassius. So those two guys bringing the ball up the floor, it's hard not to put them head and shoulders above a lot of, I mean, and again, there's a lot of good point guards that have been through there, but those guys are just, could write a book on basketball, essentially.
100%. Two of the all-time greats, no doubt.
Right.
And I think that, you make a good point of just saying like, the experience that you have and having those games and playing in March, like that stuff really matters, especially in the NCAA tournament. And I do have to ask this question because we did ask Matt Costello as well and Brandon Wood about the same question. Everyone calls Tom Izzo Mr. March, and I need to know, does Izzo have a different mystique about him in March, or is he the same all year round?
It's interesting because I want to know what their answer was first before I answer now. But in my opinion, I think it's probably, I would say no, it's not different. He will change slightly, but I think the reason that we are so good in March is because the pressure is always the same from the time that you guys get on campus in June until that last game that you play in March or April. You have the same intensity, pressure, expectations, like, you know what I mean? From that get-go, he expects you guys to be that championship team. And until you get there, which you're going to have to play until April, whatever, second week of April to get there, he expects you to work. And if you aren't working, studying, you're circling that day and you're working your life up until that day. And I think that's the only reason that teams from him succeed so well when the pressure starts to build up. Other teams aren't used to it or whatever it might be. We're already used to it and can kind of just catch it in stride.
I will inform you that they did say that nothing changed. So the answers have been concurrent, consistent throughout all the answers we have. Everyone on the outside thinks that first day of March 1st, you walk in and Izzo just has a different glow, but it seems that it's the same.
You're talking about March and June. Actually, I mean, like, you're talking about March in like May before you leave campus to go home. Then you get your 2, 3, 4 week break. That first day you come back, you're talking about March. You'll talk about the small stops along the way. And I mean, even for a year that we were talking about it, our motto was like one game at a time, because it seemed that the year before we got ahead of ourselves and then we lost to Middle Tennessee.
So I have two questions for you, and one is going to be very positive about your big shot, the biggest moment, and one is going to be on the negative side of things. So I'm going to start negative and go positive. I have to ask, during the Syracuse game, and I asked this on behalf of Michigan State fans, and probably Michigan fans want to know the answer to this question. Jaren Jackson didn't play much in that game, and I got to know from a player's perspective, was that a noticeable thing during that game? Was there any wondering what was going on there?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to notice when Ben Carter is my best friend, was my roommate 2 years there. It's hard not to notice when he hasn't played all year and then all of a sudden he's out there. I don't know, he had almost 20 minutes, I think it was, something like that. Everyone, they hated Ben. He was getting hate mail to the Breslin Center. It's like, you don't choose when you play when you're sitting on the bench here, right? Like, coach made that decision and we have to go with it. It's his call at the end of the day. I don't know why he did it. And you guys, can say all you want that Jaren should play. He did this. He should have done this. To be honest with you, it kind of goes back to the answer I said earlier. I don't think Jaren should have played that game all that much more than he did. He's not very good against his zone because, again, then he was not as cerebral as he is now. It wasn't a very good matchup for him, and he wasn't having a good day in general. But if I wanted to my own horn, I would say that also no one notices. I think I played 3 minutes that game. And consistently throughout my career, I mean, my big opening day was having a great game against Louisville in their zone. Like, I love playing against zones ever since high school. And again, coach made that decision and I was pissed. I was really upset after the game, like leading up to the next season or whatever. But you look back on it now and all you can say is, and he'll be the first who would say he thinks he made a mistake, but what are you going to do? You live and learn.
And also we look back on that and we made a public statement, actually on behalf of Greg, made a public statement to let that shit go, because it seems that everybody always wants to bring that shit up. And I think officially made a statement that it's time to put it to bed.
I want to say I put to bed the Ben Carter jokes, which I think, to Kenny's point, like hit a level of just, we got to stop. Like at some point it just crosses a line. I think like I'm still interested in more about that moment, and that's insight I never knew from a player perspective. That's really interesting to me. But yeah, the jokes specific to Ben are so ridiculously played out at this point to me. What's he supposed to do?
Yeah, but even for the game standing, like, what is anyone supposed to do? Like, I would have thrown Connor George in at that point. He, like, any of the walk-ons, I would have put OG out there to go take a shot. We shot 23% from the floor. Like,
yeah,
you can blame one person all you want, but he didn't take every one of your shots and shoot 23%. It was another, it wasn't a perfect storm because Syracuse didn't play well either, but it was a really bad storm for us.
Tough day.
For sure. It happens. All right,
it might have been the ugliest game of basketball ever.
Yeah, well, it wasn't pretty for sure.
Let's go to the positive side of things, the shot, the big moment. So you talked about how, you experienced some really down moments in March, and like the pressure of just March itself. It's talked about in this program. We don't run from March. Did you, like, leading up to that moment in that game against a group that might be the best freshman class in the last decade of college basketball with Zion, Cam Reddish, RJ Barrett, you're on the court in that moment, there's a timeout, you're in the huddle. Like, are you processing how big that moment is before that play?
I don't think that I really did. It didn't even really hit me until, I don't know, 2 weeks after we were done playing. I guess the momentum, like how giant it would be in general. Because in the game, it's just another play. The game still wasn't even over after that play. To be honest, I think that might have been the year that we were just, one game at a time. We're like moving on to the next one. And all year we had just, like, in the huddles, coach likes to dwell on certain things, this and that. And I don't know if you guys remember fondly, but I had given up, might have been like 2 baskets or like an offensive rebound in a basket. Either way, like, Zion had a left-handed basket, right? Like, in the whole game plan was like, don't give him his left. And it was just a wide open drive, left-handed basket on me. And then the timeout. So coach is just like giving me an earful. And, I'm walking, just kind of taking it, realizing to be settled in the moment. But I think there was just one point where I just snapped and I'm just like, all right, like, we got to play offense. Come on. And it was much louder and emotional than that. But in that moment, he understood, we got to keep going. I got it, but the game needs to be won. And, then he ends up drawing a timeout or drawing the play that's not for me, but ends up being for me. And I think you guys know the rest.
Big time. Wait, are you sick of talking about the shot, or are people asking you about the shot?
Yeah, no, people always say, like, how much do you think about it, how much do you talk about it? And, like, the thing is, like, for me, like, I'm still playing. I talk about other things. I talk about NBA basketball. I'm thinking about other things, and it does come to mind without being prompted ever so often. But usually, it's just when other people bring it up, which is a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that's about the only time.
Yeah, but so that being your big moment, did you kind of, for the next couple of weeks or so, were you feeling yourself a little bit? Like, were you a different Kenny Goins after that?
Yeah, it took some time. Again, like I said, we still had to play for the next week.
Right.
That night definitely felt, 17 feet tall, but
I love it.
The next week I kind of kicked it back into gear, and then after losing in the Final Four, it was not the easiest take. So I was down for, I don't know, a little bit, but that summer afterwards, I definitely had I would say a larger than life ego for a little bit, and had to kind of reel myself back in.
Hey, earned it. Hey, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. I think even one of my friends said something, and I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. And then when you start playing professionally, and especially overseas, everyone's just like, who are you?
I feel. All right. So before we move on to, could we ask Twitter a couple questions, or we asked Twitter to provide us with some questions that people wanted to ask you, but being the Michigan thing that me and G got going on, I need to know the rivalry between Michigan and Michigan State. Isn't it an actual hate thing for you? Like, do you hate the University of Michigan?
It's a complicated answer. I'll give you a real quick, overview of it. No, I don't hate the University of Michigan. I don't hate people that go there. I don't hate fans. I got a very strong dislike towards them, but it's not like that burning hate. I do have a certain hate for you guys know that certain Michigan fan where it's just the arrogance and the kind of the pettiness towards other universities as if they are, I don't know, it's kind of like that Ivy League, you got something under your nose look.
Yeah.
And just those type of people, any type of arrogant, petty type of person like that, I'm like, I definitely have a strong burning hate towards you. But as far as it goes as Michigan, it's a good university, produces a lot of good doctors, usually has a really good sports team, provides a lot for the world, but still don't like them.
Yeah, I know all about that. My podcast host is one. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Really
I'm
kidding.
kidding.
Out, man. This is tough. Just a
I'm
tough look for
kidding.
me on this episode.
Hey, did you expect anything
No, I accept it. Look, my thing is this is the best rivalry in basketball these days. I mean, we're losing Coach K, we're losing Roy Williams. Tell me why this can't be the new North Carolina Duke going forward. I'm pushing that agenda as far as I can.
I'm with you, and to be honest, I would have pushed that agenda in a different kind of argument years ago, just in the fact that you're going to have more upperclassmen in these type of games. So it is, more of that emotion-filled one, way with the players involved. I mean, because you got to think about even Michigan State, we got guys from Texas. McQuaid never even knew what the thing was like, and the same goes for North Carolina and Duke. These guys they're not from there. They understand it because they know basketball, but they don't really have the same emotions with it. Once you stay there for 3-4 years, you get a different view on it wherever you're from.
Right. I feel like when you're actually from Michigan and then you actually got to pick sides and the rivalry, when you're younger and stuff like that, that's when the rivalry becomes a real thing. And then you have statements from Draymond feeding in dudes who go to Michigan are soft as hell. We use that, we run with that, and
I mean,
gets fueled up.
I'm not going to deny that statement, but I try not to speak too disrespectfully because, like I said, it is a good university. But still, I don't like them.
Yeah, you can leave the disrespectful takes to me. I'll keep rolling with those.
Was there a particular Michigan player in your 5 years that really bothered you or you really hated going up against?
I really thought that I was gonna hate Iggy Brasdakis, or however you say it, my senior year, just because of the things that, his antics, if you will. But
he had a snake. Was it because he had a snake tattooed on his forearm?
Carter calls him Handsome Squidward.
He looks like Handsome Squidward from SpongeBob. He does.
I'm not even trying to hate, but my girlfriend the other day, she's a big Harry Potter fan, and I told her about the snake tattoo because we were talking about the same situation, and she was just I was trying to show her. She went to Michigan State, and she was just like, "Wait, he has a snake tattoo and he has that kind of hair? Is this not Draco Malfoy?" And I was I'm not even trying to hate. I couldn't believe. I don't watch really. I watched Harry Potter, but that was just that's some shade right there.
That's funny.
Hear it too. So I'm sorry if he hears that. I didn't mean to.
I don't think Iggy's a listener of the Sleepers podcast, but we'll find out. We'll see.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I thought I was going to hate him, but he was actually really, rather cordial on the court. And besides him, like I said, I don't like anyone that I played against from there, but I don't got any hate. No one was really malicious or tried to take me out or anything. So.
All right, let's pivot to some Twitter questions. We picked a few of our favorites, and then we'll wrap this up. First one comes to us from @Spartan 18770. What a Twitter handle right there. What advice would you give young athletes today about prepping themselves for a big time college sports environment?
That's a very broad statement. I would say probably just right now, like I don't know how young you're talking, but right now just do as much as you can, because no matter what, however much you're doing before you get there, the workload will always be more when you get there. It's going to be twofold what anything you thought was hard in your life before. So if you want to prepare yourself just mentally and physically, just do absolutely everything you can, as many sports, clubs, obviously your school, just get out there and experience things, because when you get there, you're going to want to experience things, but you're going to have a different schedule, a different kind of, flight and workouts, and just, you won't have the time like you did before, and you'll just feel that much more exhausted.
You heard him play other sports. Word on the street was Mr. Goins was quite the football player back in the day. Are the streets lying? Are they correct? What's the word?
No, they are correct. I played outside linebacker and tight end, and I have more scholarships, way more scholarships for football than basketball. There's a lot more positions for it, but I had probably over 40 scholarship offers for football.
See, you know what? That's probably best that you play basketball, because you being an outside linebacker hitting folks at 6'7" is pretty disrespectful and dangerous to people. So,
well, yeah, I figured as I got more up, it's going to be, I'm not hitting kids that are as skinny as me, but shorter. I'm hitting guys that are shorter and 3 times the size of me. So it wasn't going to shoot out as well, too.
I feel that. All right. The next question we have comes from Vincent R. Cook, and he says, as a lifelong MSU fan and a fellow college athlete who was a walk-on himself, Blair White was a huge inspiration to him, watching him at MSU growing up. As an MSU walk-on yourself, was there someone that you kind of looked up to or who motivated you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Blair White was definitely one for me, because I think he was just about as I was getting kind of to high school. I didn't really think I was going to be a walk-on, but as I stepped into that walk-on role, I realized, that I can. So, that was the guys that I had in my mind when I envisioned what my path would be at Michigan State. I didn't want to come here and just sit the bench. I wanted to come and play. And the other one that really inspired me was Austin Thornton. And it's kind of crazy, because I had that, he was a walk-on who made it when I was in high school again. Except for basketball. So it was easier to kind of relate to him. But it was crazy. He came back to work with us as a graduate assistant when I was there. So every day I kind of had this reminder that you can make it, and you can make it big, because he had just done it and he played overseas afterwards. Everything that I kind of wanted my life to shape up to be, I had this guy that had just done it. I hadn't seen every step, but now he's back and can show me the steps.
So, and he's back on the staff too right now. So that's
yeah. I know. I've seen him quite a bit this summer training up there.
Nice.
All right. Final question from Twitter. This is from my friend Ben Luger. As an advertising major, what was harder, guarding Zion Williamson or accounting 201?
Oh God, I like math, so accounting wasn't that bad. I know it's math in puzzle form, but again, it was math, so it was one of my better subjects. Zion is just you guys see what he does in the NBA now. I tried to, how you try and talk someone down in your head when you're going up against them, I'm he's not 270, he's not 6'7", he's not that fast, he can't jump that high. Everything I said was completely false. He just has that athleticism that coaches will say you can't coach that. that's once in a generation type of athlete, or maybe a couple in a generation, but once in basketball in a generation type of athleticism. And he even fell on me in one of the games in that game, and that in my head, I'm just like, yeah, he might be 280. And like I said, everything I said about him was so wrong, and he is, like I said, you guys see what he does now, and he was young then, so he's only getting better and better. I think I was able to, catch him with my mentality in different ways. And again, I didn't really play that game, and I didn't really guard him all that much that game, but
doesn't matter.
Yeah, he deserves all his roses in every aspect of what he's doing now.
Well, you got the last laugh. And I just want to say, Carter, when I've hooped against you the few times I have, I've definitely told myself those statements before. He's not 6'7". He won't sit his ass in the post. He wants to be a guard. Except when it's you, though, oftentimes they seem to come true, my friend. So
listen, I've already elaborated on this. When you spend your whole life in the post and you get a chance to just hoop freely, all you want to do is just shoot threes. I don't want to go rim to rim anymore. I've been going rim to rim my whole life. I don't want to do that anymore. So just let me rock. So
hey, I feel you, man. As a fan that didn't take any threes until I was like 21. It was like a drinking age for me. Like, you can't shoot threes until you're 21.
Oh,
like,
man.
Yeah, I get it. That block stuff is cool and all, but when you don't have to bang and just body someone all the time for a bucket, it's pretty nice.
Thank you, Kenny. G, write that down.
I got it. I'm taking notes.
I'm just saying. Okay, and then our final question comes from @thebrody_CA, which is actually myself, and I have to ask this: what is your favorite East Lansing spot, and are you an advocate or against Rick's American Cafe?
Rick's?
Yes.
Me and Rick's have had our ups and downs. I at this point in my life, I am very going into Rick's, but hey, to each their own, I mean, I'm kind of against all the bars in East Lansing as, you start to get older, but I would definitely go back. I don't even know which one I would go to at this point.
I was about to say, so during your time there, what spot are you going to if you had to pick one?
Probably Lou and Harry's, which was a newer one on campus, but before that, and it was definitely Rick's. When I was, when I was younger, I guess you'll say, I went into Rick's.
Rick's
I won't say my, but.
And I always say, once you go down them stairs and you hit them sticky floors at the bottom, it's a different type of vibe. It is.
It's everyone's 21 as soon as you hear that.
Exactly. But all right, so we're kind of coming up on the time here. G, do you want to kind of wrap us up here? Like we said, happy wives, happy lives. So we want to keep this.
Yeah, no doubt. No, Kenny, thanks for being on, man. Thank you for exposing my complicated fandom history. I'm sure everyone will enjoy that. But no, wish you the best of luck in your career, man.
No, I appreciate it. I really thank you guys so much for just allowing me to talk. And maybe someone will tell you that they got a crazy story. I've heard people that are fans of Ohio State and Michigan, in different aspects, or like Michigan State basketball and Michigan football. So, you always hear different stories. Yours is a little crazier because you went to one of the colleges.
It's the craziest story you hear. But hey, Kenny, we appreciate you having you on. You always have a open invite to come on and talk anytime you want. We're gonna put Kenny's socials in the comment section, the description below. So make sure to follow him. And I believe I just saw that you signed to play in Greece, correct?
Yes, I'm going back probably, I don't know, sometime soon. Get back at it.
All right, bet. We'll definitely be following you, and everyone else should as well. And we appreciate you coming on, bro.
No, thank you guys again. Hopefully I'll come back sometime soon.
No doubt. Peace.
Peace.